and welcome to the Rollwise podcast, your show where we talk about things related to RPGs and stuff adjacent. Today, we're going to be going on a little bit of an adventure. We're going to be picking up a rule book by the name of, or I guess a game system by the name of Distal, and we are going to be creating slash converting characters for our Age of Worm campaign so that on our upcoming live stream, we can try this game set out as part of our multi-system approach to see how different D20 type games work within the fantasy genre and what possible strengths, weaknesses, and other things you have to consider when picking them up to play. So those of you that have followed us, you know that we were playing some DC 20 stuff. Right now, DC 20 is also in its alpha, so it's obviously far too early to to have a thorough review of the game, but what we see is very promising. So we're also going to Distal, which is also in its alpha. That being said, we do expect to be doing other games. This could include Tales of the Valiant and stuff like that. Hopefully, MCDM role playing. The RPG comes out with a beta packet or something like that. And then, of course, if people are interested for us to attempt things like Daggerheart or another system of your choice that are part of this kind of new age of fantasy type role playing games being released at a very fast pace, please let us know. What are your suggestions? We're happy to give them a try, tell you how we feel, hopefully play it to the best of our abilities. But as we are learning these games as we go, we're also open to feedback for how the game goes and what we can improve so that we can appreciate them at a deeper level. So today, Distal. Brent, do you want to tell us a little bit of information about Distal so we can give everybody the 1-2 about it?
Distal is a D20 forward game. What is the tagline? Merciless adventure, something like that. The idea of the game basically is that your characters are a bit more mortal and less heroic than your normal D&D characters. They're gritty but not grim, but not gritty.
They're grounded but not gritty.
Grounded but not gritty. I knew there were G's in there. That was what I was looking for. It was G words. Grounded but not gritty. So they're characters that are more humanized but still have some fantasy elements. So I think one of the things when we spoke to Rel, one of the things that he said, one of his main concepts was like, if you watch Lord of the Rings, it's characters that are more punching up than heroic characters doing heroic things. They're kind of more normal characters doing things that are extraordinary. So yeah.
Oh, yeah. So that being said, one thing I would like to point out is that Distal is going to have its own accompanying setting. And so a lot of the design is around kind of its own unique setting and locations and everything like that. So when we're converting this over to the Greyhawk setting, which we're using for Age of Worms, we're going to be kind of taking some liberties that, things will be named as Distal is named for them, at least while we're using this rule set. But as to have continuity, if we find ourselves in a situation where we did something with a previous rule set that allowed us to get someplace that we shouldn't be with the new rule set, we will find a way around that. So we'll have to kind of have those director moments where we hope nobody notices the editing in the background snip.
The cut.
Yeah, the cut. So we're going to give it our best. And so if you spot a continuity error, thanks. We know they're going to be there.
We're sorry.
Yeah, we're sorry. Not every spell is kind of available in every game kind of thing. Okay, so getting into the actual process for creating a character for Distal is fairly easy. I'm going to share kind of a like the character creation process from the current alpha packet. So whenever this is being viewed, if anybody's looking at alpha packet number 5, I think he's going to put out a final alpha packet because it also is currently on backer kit, so people can put forth pledges and all that stuff if they want to help Rel see the game come to life and everything like that. Also, if you want to know more about Rel, we do have a previous video which we can probably put a link to in the description and everything like that, so you can actually see and creator interview and kind of see what his mindset was going into it and kind of get a little more information there. So that being said, the steps that it takes to create a character, should look fairly familiar to most people. I would say that, kind of choosing a lineage is what we have in this game. writing a background. This is where it's going to deviate a little from your normal type games and stuff like that. You're going to score your proficiencies as you write your background. You're going to describe things like curios, which are going to be little tiny objects that, if you've played like free league games, like a kind of curios kind of system where they're just mementos that are really important to your character that help you develop a little bit more depth to them without too much extra writing. You'll have contacts, a class that you'll choose. You'll assign your attributes, and because this is grounded, you'll see attributes that are far more close to average and zero than superhero or super tier type things where the lifting rocks off of your friends as they got caught in a trap, like throw it away over there. Determine your bloodlines, like what your abilities are for that. Prepare for combat, and of course any final checks to kind of make sure you're ready for the adventure. So let me go ahead
and one of the places that this is going to differ very wildly for our characters is the backgrounds that we had set up in DC20 are going to be potentially a lot different, because the Distal game requests that you roll your background up to kind of make the characters ground the characters a little bit within the world. So
yeah, and so there's two things that I can say there is we can still use many of the knives that we've developed as part of one of our previous background videos, which if you're not sure what knives are, go look at our cutlery section. We have some fun things there. Whatever. And of course, but we'll still use this as well. So first and foremost, choosing a lineage. Now, lineage in this, the types of options that we have here are fairly I think are fairly distinct in terms of name for many of them. So you have an Atlian, basically a sea peoples. You have a dwarf, elf, a fury, which is kind of like, I think the harpy would be the easiest analog in the fantasy world and all those kind of things. I don't think, they have some other stuff there. Kingsguard, which are the humans from a fallen empire. You have the Tanglefoot, which are short-lived and fleet of foot, kind of like your almost gnome-esque, but kind of a more fey gnome, it feels like, since they were transdimensionally placed on this world. You have the Ull's Daughter, which is a half-giant species. The Wild Walker, which is a kind of an animal-esque type character. Hooves, antlers, cursed or blessed, depending on how you look at them. And then you have the Yvain, which are often mistaken for humans, but they have elemental blood, usually 3 eyes that are commonly kept covered to dampen the stimuli of their inborn planar sight. So similar but different is what I would say. So with that being said,
what's kind of neat is some of those are very like the Yvain is a very like high fantasy style character, and it's kind of interesting to see that sort of thing in a more grounded setting.
So. Yeah, and they have like that. I mean, they have some cool abilities like plain sight. Visible outlines of creatures from your home plane overlap the distal. Gain permanent plain sight into one of the following planes at creation. The Sani, Yusord, or Yusidre. I hope I pronounce those right, Rel, if you happen to watch this. If I didn't, give me the pronunciation guide, please. But it does have some cool ones. So I think for us, we're going to focus on the dwarf and the Tanglefoot. Is kind of what I was thinking. Is that what you guys?
I think those two fit the best. Yeah.
Okay. And do you guys have character sheets for this, or are we just?
I did go and get one. Yes.
I did not. I thought I did. I closed a tab. How about I work quietly in the background?
Okay. Well, why don't we start with Brent's character and just kind of go through the process with the dwarven character. So the first thing is that with a dwarf, you have your 25-foot movement, you have 1d10 health, and +1 fort. Fort being one of the ability scores. You also have proficiency with dwarven weapons, aka a blunderbuss and a blast hammer. So you'll want to put a pip in the in dwarven weapons. Or if you look at these ones right here, you'll notice that the combat proficiencies and stuff like that is actually on page 2. That's where you'd put the stuff there.
Ooh, you definitely got a different one than I am. Mine doesn't have that.
Okay, but if yours looks different, I'm just using the quick start one as kind of a guideline, because this is already a completed character for.
Oh, that's why. Okay, that's why. Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha. So we want dwarven weapons.
Mm-hmm.
We can probably just copy and paste that character sheet. We can. We have success, and we have one rank in that, right?
Yep. So you have proficiency with dwarven weapons.
Okay, just leave that one. And that goes under combat proficiency.
Yeah, there's going to be combat proficiencies. On your sheet, I'm not sure where it would be, but in this one, it's second page.
I mean, it's the same place. It just wasn't filled out. As I guess.
Okay. Yeah.
And then I get unburdened by armor,
which
is.
It's going to be under additional abilities, probably.
Got it.
And then you'll have a stout build, which considered a medium creature that shoulders 5 burdens without penalty. And those of you that are listening, burdens are basically your encumbrance option for Distal. So if you, depending on what your quote unquote burdens are, you may carry more or less loot out of the dungeon, treasure on your body. Mostly the burdens are what's stowed inside your pack, but that's what that's referring to there.
It's referred to weight, not mental anguish.
I mean,
yeah.
At least sometimes we're encumbered by the things that we carry, both up here and up here.
Yeah. Ooh, we're getting deep on this one.
Yeah. don't expect that every episode, but
don't. You're lucky you don't get juvenile jokes all the time, people.
It's the little things. Okay. So now we've chosen our lineage. We're going to write a background. And I think normally, and we discussed when we were doing like the background episode with the knives and everything like that, backgrounds can be really tricky to know that balance for what you can use to provide an engaging opportunity for your game master, or just too much detail that's extraneous and not going to be useful in any capacity, right? So let's go to page 12. Boop, boop. And the key focus here with the backgrounds is you're going to have 2 sentences that define your character up to this point. However, there are obviously other background considerations that you can do to kind of help flesh it out just a tiny bit more past these, but these ones actually define your character not only with a history, but they also give you mechanically how your character develops. So I grew up prompt 1 and my days were spent prompt 2. I became prompt 3 on the day prompt 4. So, Brent, do you want to go ahead and give yourself a roll and see what it would come up with?
Yeah, and one of the things that I would point out as we're doing this is I think in this sort of game, it's kind of important to roll on these tables. In this case, for the background, because it's gonna help it's gonna set the mindset that it isn't so much a min-max sort of game, because this is your background is gonna help with your skills, like where you do some of your skills and stuff. So I rolled a 7 for I grew up.
Ooh. I grew up surrounded by death.
Are you sure you rolled that, or you didn't just choose that one?
No, I rolled it. I was rolling while Mike was talking earlier.
So what you would get out of this is you would get +1 Obscura, +1 Survival, and +1 Criminal Contact. So, I mean, really, you could do these and put these pips in as you go, or you could save them all to basically assign at the end.
Yeah.
Okay. So I grew up surrounded by death. Okay. And my days were spent on prompt 2. And prompt 2 is to get you roll 1d6 and then 1d10.
Yeah. I rolled a 4.
Okay.
And then I rolled a 7.
Wow. 7 again. Okay. So I grew up surrounded by death and my days were spent attending fancy gatherings. Seems like you just kind of funeral chaser or something at this point.
Little strange.
He was a rich kid from a huge family where all the old were dying.
What I would say in this case is that the character grew up in a necromantic town, and the parties were with the dead people, is what I would say.
Could be. And the next part is I became prompt number 3. So you roll a d6.
I believe I rolled a 2 on that.
A nomad.
Yeah, that
And
was
then
what I rolled.
prompt number 4 is going to be another d6 and d10.
I rolled a 2,
Mhm.
and then I rolled a 9.
Okay. Ooh. All right. So you became a nomad.
The day I betrayed my best friend.
You betrayed your best friend.
Yep.
Ooh. So throughout this entire process, I mean, in reality, you gained 3 contacts out of this that can kind of help give you some depth to the character and everything like that.
Mhm.
One of those contacts was a criminal contact. One of those contacts was an aristocratic contact, and one of those contacts was a nemesis contact.
Mhm.
It's not too bad, honestly.
No, it's interesting.
And then,
Much
of course,
better than the character that I made before, but
yeah, very different from the character that you had kind of envisioned going into this, which is now we can try to obviously get the character that you were thinking of, and see if that aligns with this or how close you can align it with this stuff as well. Jeff, did you want to try to roll on this as well to give some people some extra examples as to what it would be?
Yeah. Let's start off with a D20.
A d20.
A 9.
I grew up a craftsman's apprentice.
Okay. Hang on, I'm just writing. And so what did I get?
+1 commerce, +1 ingenuity, and +1 professional contact.
Ingenuity and a professional contact. Okay.
Okay. Next is a d6, a d10.
Wait, that's the 4th one.
Nope, that's the second one as well.
Oh, is it? So a
Mhm.
D6 and a D10? Okay. The D6 is a 1.
Okay.
And the D10 is a 7.
Herding livestock. So you get a +1 perception, +1 aid, and +2 beast.
Hang on. +1 perception.
Mhm.
+1 aid.
Mhm.
And a +1 beast.
+2 beasts.
+2 beasts.
Yeah, that's 2 pips.
Okay. And then
right.
the third one is
I became a.
and this is just a D6.
Yep.
A 6.
A soldier.
Well, this is very different.
Yeah.
I feel like we switched backgrounds.
A soldier. So what do I?
Yeah,
what
so
are my
you get
bonuses on that?
+4 low price items and +3 weapon proficiencies. And so it's really to give you, as he says, starting items for it. And when you look at low priced items, what you're actually looking at is you're looking at equipment. So like you'd have the ability to have a sword, a shield, some armor.
As
of
long
some
as they
sort.
were low priced, not
Correct.
medium priced.
Yep, because that's where a villain,
see
for
that.
example, would get medium priced. That's pretty nice.
Okay.
Okay. And then on the
This
day,
is the D6 and the D10 again.
Yep.
Okay. All right. The D6 is a 2.
okay,
And the D10 is a 6.
6. I unlocked an ancient ruin. So you became a soldier the day you unlocked an ancient ruin, giving you +1 engineering, +1 obscura, +1 ingenuity, and +15 gold.
Engineering obscura.
Yep. Now, what I would say is that I probably would say that these backgrounds may be altered, of course, to match the existing archetypes that we're using for the game. But thematically, that's as simple as it comes to making the backgrounds for your character, and it actually starts to do the math for the rest of your character mechanically, at least as a basis.
Sure.
And so once you have your background sorted, like I mean, obviously there are things to consider about your character and like what makes them tick, what do they care about, Who do they care about? Just so that there can be some like stuff jumbling about in the brain, like, somebody local, do you need to have that kind of thing? And I think that having contacts can help you devise some of those answers pretty easy. But one of the important part about this is that you will be scoring proficiencies. Now, what we have in this game is we're actually broken down by skills and knowledge. The skills themselves are things that you do. And so, really, what you're looking at is what do you have the capability of performing when you're doing it? So, stealth is a skill. Whereas on the flip side, if you look at knowledge, the things you know, streetwise is a knowledge type skill. Now, here you can have situations in which skills and knowledge may both help you in a role. If, for example, you can find a situation where, like, one of the situations later in the book is that if you look at something that's like a magical door, you may be able to use mage work and obscura to basically help bolster your chances for getting through this magical door because you know more about these types of ruins kind of things. And what you see is that each of the pips represents a bonus. So as you look at the character sheet, and I'm going to switch over to the Distal character sheet, you can see that there are 4 ranks. The first rank is going to be your proficient. Your second rank is going to be adept. Third rank is going to be expert. And fourth rank is going to be master. And so that gives you a bonus between +1 and +4. And so I guess this is also part of that grounded, not gritty thing, is that don't expect super high dice rolls. The system so far, based on my reading for it. Because what was it?
So if you have 2, so if you have a +2, then you would mark 2 pips on the sheet.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, I think the only thing I noticed when I was doing the this is that the weapon proficiencies were the only things that started at level 1, but I could also be misremembering. Like you couldn't just, for example, spend all of your weapon proficiencies on one weapon if you had like multiple weapon proficiencies. I think you had to. I think you chose one weapon proficiency at first level, and you were just proficient.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, but I'll get to that later. So then the next part about this is once you're done with your backgrounds, and I apologize for people watching. I'm just scrolling through all this really quick. You score your proficiencies, and you basically put your pips into each of the different skills and or knowledge that they may go into. You then will describe your curios. Curios are a keepsake. They provide a benefit to a non-combat role whenever it fits the narrative. So, like if you, but if you didn't receive a curio as part of your background, you don't need to worry about creating one up on the spot. A curio is actually a mechanical component of your character. So, if your character doesn't have a curio, like in this case, Jeff, a curio could be that example of your wand with your character in the previous part of this. That could be a curio because it mechanically it wasn't really like a wand, but it had
just been in the family for generations.
It had been in the family for generations, and so it allows you to make mage work checks, better in certain circumstances, if that makes sense.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So everybody all cool on scoring proficiencies and how that works and curios and stuff?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. So now the next part is kind of interesting because it allows you to kind of develop the single definition for giving you at least a baseline for your contacts. Now the contacts, they're aristocratic, creature contacts, criminal contacts, familiar contacts, otherworldly contacts, powerful contacts, professional contacts, mentor contacts, nemesis contacts. And as you can tell, each of these different charts has a variety of ways in which these contacts can develop because they are a blank that is blank and can blank. And so very rarely, even if two of you had been generating characters and you each had a same or similar contact, it would be very unlikely that these contacts would be able to that would basically fulfill the same role based on
Yeah,
these.
they wouldn't overlap very much.
It would be really astronomically small chances for that to happen in a normal game.
Okay.
Go ahead.
No, I said okay.
So, however, if you do want to opt out of contacts, you can. You can opt out of receiving the contact and replace it with 15 gold on your accounting sheet. Which I think personally, I would probably choose a contact even if I didn't use it over the gold, simply because a contact potential is better than the gold, in my opinion.
And it's more interesting usually.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's more interesting. So I had a professional contact, so I need to roll a d10. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah. So you'd roll a d10, and you actually roll it 3 times.
3 times?
Uh-huh.
I got a 7, a 4, and a 2.
So they are a leather worker that is an aspiring politician that offers a reliable paycheck.
A leather worker, aspiring politician, and they offer a regular paycheck?
A reliable paycheck.
Reliable.
So this is the kind of contact I could imagine easily being like, as a GM, going, oh, well, perfect. This leather worker who has aspirations to be something more in the town obviously hires adventurers to
do
things. You know,
sure all 100% above board.
100%. He's every politician is 100% honest and truthful and stuff.
Just in it to help society. Sure.
In it for the people.
Yeah, no, I'm totally on board with that.
So, however, if you were to look at, like what might be a like a contact that would better fit the Alistan character, you might have a powerful contact that is a retired court wizard that is,
wow, some of those are gritty.
Building an army.
On another plane, trapped in an item. Wow.
Yeah.
In constant pain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so there are probably some
I think I could come closer than the worker, but I don't think I can get exactly.
I think they're really interesting. I think the contacts are really interesting. I think that's neat.
Yeah. A wandering monk, a village elder.
I have 3 of them on my sheet. If you want to know what I rolled,
sure. Let's go ahead.
I could just tell you what I rolled because I rolled for them all already. So for my aristocratic contact, they are a local mayor that is often found speaking publicly and can charter caravans of supplies.
Ooh. Okay.
Wow.
So that was the aristocrat contact. Then I had a criminal contact.
Okay.
They are a young street urchin that is spoken to only by messenger and can acquire illegal goods.
Ooh, perfect.
Which is interesting that they're a young street urchin that I can't talk to. And then the last one was a nemesis contact, which I think is maybe the most interesting one. And they are a familial rival.
You mean a familiar rival?
Oh yeah, familiar rival. Weird. Could be. I thought it was a family rival. Either way, I mean.
Well, there's a family member option too. That's number 9. I don't know if you rolled it.
No. I rolled the familiar rival. So they're a familiar rival that is employed by a monarch and has the people on their side.
That's your friend who you betrayed?
So I'm also a very grossly unpopular character, apparently.
What I like about that is that immediately your nemesis makes it sound like you're the bad guy.
Exactly. Yeah.
Society has said
you're an aristocrat, Brent. Do you care what the people think?
Apparently not. Jeez. Or I was an aristocrat anyways. I don't know. That's pretty interesting.
Sounds like you still are. It sounds like you still are.
This character is very different than the background that I had built for the other for the DC-20.
You can take the dwarf out of the castle, but you can't take the castle out of the dwarf.
Maybe, but honestly, I feel like this is a good idea this is tables, and this generates ideas, and it helps you kind of.
No, I'm already thinking about stuff.
Yeah, the characters already sound like, I say they're different because this actually sounds more like a character. Like, this sounds like an interesting character I would play. That I'm interested in, that is different than the character that I made.
Yes.
I feel like this character is more interesting potentially, and I don't think he would be. I mean, like, if we were just doing this cold, I would say this character is completely different than I would run this character completely different than my other character.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you probably have to, because of their quote unquote skill set and how they approach things would be different. So that being said, once you create your contacts and everything like that, you have kind of a bit of meat to the character already, but now you actually get to choose a class. Now, this is where another way in which the game is very different in some ways. There isn't just like, I mean, whenever you look at this and you go, okay, well, what are my straight up whatever? I think that we have a good job here, kind of creating distinct character classes, but not like weird character classes, if that makes sense. And in some ways, like, I mean, when you look at fantasy characters, obviously there's a pool of characters that everyone is familiar with, and so you are kind of picking some of those archetypes that exist.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I think, what did he say for the fighter, the
strategist would be the closest, yeah,
the closest that we have there.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, if you look at it, you get a +3 health bonus, which gives you just that much more ability to not die. And then you get a D6 for your willpower die. We'll talk about willpower dice later, but willpower dice are very important when it comes to like saving bacon, I think is the way I would put it.
1d6, right?
Yep. And Jeff, when we looked at it, the true caster archetype, the closest caster archetype that felt like it matched what you were already playing was the Magister archetype.
Yeah, I think it's Magister.
Mm-hmm.
Had I gone with the fire stuff instead of the lightning stuff, maybe I could have said Ember Gut, but I think it's Magister.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like the pursuer of arcane knowledge, and plus you get a D10 willpower die, which is kind of cool. So. Now, as with any alpha and stuff like that, this is pared down for the alpha playtest, so that it only goes up to level 6. If anybody's interested in reading these alpha rules, you can follow Rel on the backer kit, and I believe you get an access to the download there. But getting to kind of like what the levels look like and everything like that, the strategist, you have a health bonus of +3, a willpower die of or 1d6, and then you have suggested attributes or strength or dexterity. Now, I do have to say that in terms of like abilities and stuff like that, a lot of these abilities are pretty like there's a narrow scope of abilities. You do tend to blossom into your character a lot more around level 3 for each of them, because that's when you actually get your signature items that make your class like discrete from other versions of the class. So for level 1, because that's where you guys are right now, hopefully by the end of this adventure will be the equivalent of a level 2 version of whatever adventuring class that we're going to be choosing. But you get starting health, so it's 2 times your starting health is 2 times health die max +3.
So what is my health die?
Your health die is determined by your
ancestry.
Yeah, your lineage, and so I believe your health die was D10.
I think it is D10. So it'd be 13, 10 plus 3.
Well, let me grab mine really quick.
So you have a D10 health.
And +1 fort.
Mm-hmm. And then...
And my Tangle Folk.
Tangle Folk were D6 health.
D6 health and +1 dex, -1 strength.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So just to kind of make it easier so people didn't have to see me scrolling through 1,000
pages. 2 times health die max, so it would be 20 + 3 would be my hit point.
Yep. So you actually have
a lot of hit points for this game.
You're able to soak for a lot at this beginning point. So your starting health is 2 times health die max plus 3, so 23. You become proficient in strategy and performance. However, if you already receive these proficiencies through your background, choose untrained knowledge alternatives instead. Trained for battle, you immediately learn a new weapon proficiency, and you always begin combat with 2 willpower die in your pool because you're trained for battle.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So, but I don't put that anywhere, right? I just have 2 of those.
That would be under the abilities. Would be the place where I'd put those. Oops.
Sounds good. And so I think I have like 4 weapon proficiencies now. Like I have the dwarven weapon proficiency, and then 1 for my background, I think, and then 1 from plus 2 weapons for 2 from my background, and then 1 from this, right? Okay.
Yeah. And so it's not uncommon to have a lot of different combat proficiencies that it seems like you build on. Because like dwarven weapons is a proficiency type, because as you go through the equipment, you'll notice certain equipment is actually titled with the type of equipment, but it also could be grouped according to a certain tag. So you're looking at those tags to kind of see how they all play with each other, because much like a Venn diagram, there are certain overlapping.
It's like Advanced Dungeons and Dragons had that. They had group proficiencies and then single weapon proficiencies.
Okay, so now we get to the Magister. So level 1 for the Magister, you get starting health is 2 times health die max plus 1.
So that would be 13. Okay.
You are now proficient in Arcana and Obscura. And of course, if you've already received those, you choose untrained knowledge alternatives instead.
Okay, I already had Obscura, so let me pick. Another one. All right.
Okay. You become proficient in Weave and Planar spellcasting. I believe you put those on your combat proficiencies section. Just kind of like the Atlian Oracle has those under there.
Weave and Planar. Okay.
And then your Magister spell list is you get a number of 0 or first level spells equal to 3 plus your intelligence. So because you haven't chosen your attributes yet, this is an important note. When you get to your attributes, that's one of your highest priority stats is going to be that.
3 plus int. Okay.
Yeah, if your character's a dumb, he's not going to have any spells.
They'll have 3. So,
exactly.
And then you also have Mage Armor as an ability. And so when you receive mundane damage, you can expend a spell slot to roll a buffer d6 against damage. And what a buffer d6 is, it's a way that we have in this system to kind of soak incoming damage based on the type of damage. So there are baby buffers against slashing, piercing, bludgeoning, or mundane, holy, solar, like all of the different damage types can have a buffer against it. All right, so once we get past Mage Armor, then we go to Devotion spellcasting. Now, the interesting part about each of the magic type classes in this is that you have different spellcasting methods. And so for the Magister, Devotion spellcasting means that basically their pursuit of knowledge is what that's the devotion that we're talking about. Now, you have a number of spell slots equal to 1 plus your class level, and you recharge the spell slots as a major downtime activity. So as a mage, right out of the gate, you don't really have a ton of castable spells in a day. Just FYI. I kind of almost thought this was more like Willow, if that makes sense. You know, like you have like a couple things that you can do over the course of the day, but it's not like you don't get like a million spells like you do in D&D and everything like that.
Right.
So just an FYI, that's how many spell slots you have for the day.
Yeah, for devotion.
Oh, for your. I mean, you have spells equal to your 3 plus your intelligence.
Yeah, I have more spells, but okay.
But how many spell slots you have is 1 plus your class level. And I didn't see anything that indicated that there would be a
Do I get more because I'm proficient in weave and planar spellcasting, as well as having devotion spellcasting?
Well, devotion spellcasting is just the type of um is the archetype of how you cast. So like for example, the Ember Gut, theirs is bargain spell passing, but it's basically a bargain is when you make an agreement with some other planar creature. You offer yourself up as part of a pact, so it could be more dangerous. Whereas like an oracle, they have also devotion spell casting, and then ferrymen have the harvest spell casting, which is 2 plus half class level plus death marks. So
okay, yeah, no, I think they're using this term spellcasting to mean two different things in two different sections, and so I think that's something that probably needs to be cleared up in the rules. If the way that I cast spells is devotion spellcasting, then weave and planar spellcasting really are the types of spells that I can cast.
correct.
Is my guess. So yeah, it was the use of the term spellcasting that was throwing me for a second. Sorry.
Oh, gotcha.
No, I'm not trying to be pedantic. I'm just, as somebody
Sure.
new reading the rules for the first time, I thought that was a bit confusing.
Sure. No, it makes sense because basically you have your sources versus your
right.
Well, I can't say sources versus your memorization style.
Yeah, I haven't looked at the spells and seen how they're broken down.
Yeah. Okay. So we have both of your classes all set up, right? Where your classes make sense. You have the Magister and you have the Strategist. Now we're going to go to the assigning attributes part. No, now this the good news is it's very much in a style that Brent likes. You assign attributes based on a point system. So your actual attributes are going to start based on where your where your lineage was in terms of in Brent's case, you got a fortitude bonus and everything like that. And in case Jeff, you had +1 dex, plus or -1 something.
-1 strength.
-1 strength. Okay. Oh yeah. So basically you choose to, and so you could in this case. Now you get. Sorry, let me just back up there. You do get limitations. Attributes cannot exceed 5 or subseed -2. So that means that at the worst you can only be -2. So no matter how feeble your character gets in a particular area, but you can use either stat in some cases. So like there are situations in which you can use like dex or strength, and a lot of that times is going to come in the form of checks. Like when you make a check to deny or curtail or withstand or something like that, usually you'll have a couple different options to choose. So it's not necessarily always going to have like a weak stat when trying to avoid those types of effects. However, as part of the character creation process, you do get 2 additional points to spend on your attributes. And then these attributes increase by 1, and then they're what's considered plateaued. So what this means is that as you gain levels, so you get levels at every level besides 4, 8, 12, you'll increase an attribute by 1 point, and then the attribute you improve becomes plateaued until your next milestone. Milestones are every 4th level, and so you don't receive an attribute point at a milestone, but you do clear your current plateaus. So your actual attributes do increase over time, and it doesn't feel like, based on my understanding of the progression, that there's any quote unquote dead levels in that regard. You're always getting something to help your character out. So was that too much of an explanation? Do you need me to go through that again?
So we only
okay, so
we pick 2 of the attributes and we can increase them by 1.
Right. So there'll be 1. So we can have a strength. So like right now, I have a strength 1, dex 1, and fortitude 1. And that's my starting stats, right?
Correct.
Could he have, what'd you get a bonus in, Brent?
Fortitude.
So your racial bonus was in fortitude. Could he have put a point into fortitude and been at +2 for fortitude?
Yeah.
He could.
Okay.
Just like the Atlian can put in a second int and then plateau it. Now I don't see anywhere on the character sheet where you mark the plateau part, so I don't know if your character sheet has that, but a simple tick.
I don't see anything.
Yeah, it would be nice to have some sort of tick to note when it's plateaued.
Go back to the Atlantean sheet for a second.
Oh, I have a little thing underneath them.
We do have
where
a
I
thing
can put a
them.
pip in there.
Okay.
Yep.
And if you do, perfect, because that's
Yep, that is exactly what that's for. Yep, that makes sense.
Just so people know, I have my racials of -1 strength and +1 dex, and then I took +1 int and +1 wisdom.
Okay.
Because I wasn't sure what to take for the second one. I didn't think I wanted another one in dex.
Well, you're a spellcaster. You should probably put 2 in intelligence, actually.
Well, you can only put it in.
I can only put 1.
You can only put 1 in? Okay.
2 attributes increased by 1, so...
Oh, okay. The reason I could have put a plus added the fortitude is because I got it as a racial bone. Gotcha.
Right, yeah. Like, I could put a 1 into strength and have my strength be 0, but that seems...
Or another 1 in dexterity.
Or I could put another 1 in dexterity, or I could put it in fortitude.
Yeah, okay. That makes sense. I was just trying to make sure I was
Maybe
clear.
I want another dexterity. It seems weird being a mage with a higher dexterity than...
Being nimble?
Yeah, because I don't know if wisdom is actually what I want to do. Well, I'm going to stick with the wisdom.
Okay. So, all right. So once you've got your additional skills, so in addition to those provided by your class and your background, you receive extra skills from intelligence and extra knowledge from wisdom. For each point of intelligence, add 1 point to a skill that has 0 points. So add 1 pip to something you don't already have a point in.
Okay.
And for wisdom, this is important, add 1 point to a knowledge that has either 1 or 0 points. This is your chance to actually...
so I can move something up to 2.
Mm-hmm.
Do I want Obscura or Arcana? I'm going to take Arcana. I'm going to take Arcana up to 2.
Okay.
Yeah, I took Mage Work because I didn't have that.
Okay, perfect. All right. Now you choose a bloodline ability. So now that we've got attributes selected, we choose a bloodline ability. This is just something to give yourself a little bit of special flavor and stuff like that. For the dwarf, you have 3 bloodline abilities to choose from. You have Stone Skin, and as an action, you increase your defense by your fortitude, but are slowed until the effect ends. You can end this effect as a technique on your turn, and this ability cannot be activated and is dispelled while you are poisoned. I gotta make a Ninja Scroll comment there, but I'm not going to.
Yeah.
Armor care. Armor care is you expend a willpower die to a Norn effect would generally degrade your armor. Typically, armor degrades when you roll a buffer die and you roll a 1 on that buffer die. It takes it down. It demotes the die to the next lowest die unless it's a D4, which it then becomes ruined. So additionally, when you conduct a major downtime, you also repair 1 armor and 1 shield you own. And then you have Impossible to Topple. Once per round while conscious, you can choose to avoid falling prone. Additionally, while you have a raised shield, you can successfully block against melee attacks that can push an attacker up to 10 feet.
Well, that would have been helpful before.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I think just on the negative experience, Brent's gonna
No, I think armor care makes
interesting.
I think armor care makes the most sense for my character because he obviously can be toppled. So
obviously,
yeah.
Okay.
It's happened already, so we'll stick with the canon.
All right. And then for Tanglefoot, you have hypermetabolism. Tanglefolk. Oops.
Hypermetabolism.
Your natural regeneration increases to 2 per round. Additionally, while bloodied, for each hour that the poison condition would normally last at you, it instead lasts number of rounds equal to that number for you. It's pretty cool. Small tactics. Whenever you occupy the same space as an ally, you are considered obscured to any creature farther than 15 feet from you. And then you have Sticky Feet. You can reach the top of a wall or run laterally along it with your normal movement instead of jumping or climbing up to a distance of 15 feet. This feature can be used again after ending your turn in a space you can stand on. So basically, it gives you that kind of like Spider-Man run across the walls.
Yeah, I get that. I don't think Sticky Feet really fits me. Small tactics maybe, but I'm leaning hypermetabolism.
Regeneration isn't so bad. Just so you know, when you start dying in this game, regeneration stops. FYI. Okay. So that would be the main bulk of the character creation. Now we're just kind of in the prepare for combat things. So now we're going to be grabbing an adventurer pack. So each of you add an adventurer's pack to your counting sheet, and that is free for new characters. Although you can swap it out for more specialized options if you find another pack that fits better. Your pack is where you stow all of your equipment for travels, while equipments are typically holstered. And much like I think I've seen in other systems, you typically have 3 hands worth of gears that are holsterable, like multiple swords, daggers, knives, and all that kind of stuff that don't kind of count towards your encumbrance. Weapon proficiency. For each weapon proficiency granted by your background, choose a weapon proficiency to learn. Weapon proficiencies are recorded on the accounting sheet. I thought I saw somewhere that it could only be 1 weapon proficiency. Why is that?
Well,
I don't know. I got 3 weapon proficiencies for my background.
Yeah, and I got 4.
Well, I was just saying, I don't think you could spend all of them like in one place. I don't know. Let me check on that real quick, because I thought for some reason you could only.
Well, is there a difference between combat proficiencies and weapon proficiencies?
Oh, no, here it is. So final checks. Combat proficiency should be at rank 1. Weapon proficiencies and spellcasting proficiencies are both considered combat proficiencies. These proficiencies all begin as simply proficient. You will be able to elevate these proficiencies to adept, expert, master as you progress in level. If you're unproficient, aka you have 0 points in that, it is a -2 for the proficiency rank.
Okay.
So I wasn't going crazy. I just wanted to make sure. My brain is just like, I remember there being a place where you couldn't just like go, I have axes at proficiency 4. I am a master level 1 strategist with an axe.
No, but like my proficiency is like granted by because I'm mystic support and a soldier. Mm-hmm. So I have mystic, short blades, and unarmed, and that would eat up my 3 weapon proficiencies. Mm. So I can use mystic, weapons, short blades, and things that have no arms.
True, I guess. Would that be a club? No, I'm just kidding. Unarmed.
Well, if Brent attacks an enemy and chops off its arms, I can grab it by the ankles and swing it with proficiency. That's what I'm going with.
I believe at that point they would be a makeshift club, just to be clear.
It's true. So yeah, weapon proficiencies and all that kind of stuff. I think that they mentioned that there are some that had certain weapon proficiencies and all that, but I don't think we're going to go through a full list. But we'll look at equipment here in a moment. And because when you purchase your starting equipment, for each low or mid-priced item granted by your background, you choose the equivalent item you'd like to own. Armor, weapons, shield, and adventuring supplies show their relative prices as low, medium, or high alongside like an actual gold amount, just so you know how much it would cost to purchase it if, for example, you wanted to buy it outside of your background or later in the adventure. There are requirements for gear. So like if you need a strength 2 to wield a weapon, you obviously have to have a strength 2 to wield it, kind of thing.
Sounds like bullshit.
Brent's like, what do you mean I can't wield this 4-ton great axe? Okay. So honestly, if you want to, though, you can use these starter kits to help you kind of.
Yeah, I'm just going to go with the starter kit.
Yeah, so as a mystic support, you would have your.
And I'm a soldier, so it's the bottom one.
Yeah, mystic, short blades, and unarmed. Yeah, so that would basically mean your proficiencies are all.
And then my items, I got a sickle wand, heavy cloth, and healer's pack. Boom, done, easy.
Boom. Yep.
Boom. Then I have my gold to spend, for regular things. not my starting gear, so that that was the thing that always baffled me. Like, nobody showed up with their own stuff. You had to buy all this stuff, and then you wound up having no money to do anything. How do we eat? I don't know.
So here's just kind of an idea as to how the packs look. So as you can see, the adventurer pack has a lantern, and as an action, you can ignite the lantern. You have extra space, so it allows you to store 2 medium items without incurring burdens for do so. So it can allow you to carry more kind of stuff. Whereas the
Okay.
healer's pack, which is I believe what you had, Jeff, you actually have stabilize as an action. You can attempt to stabilize one dying creature, which is their DC 10 plus death marks you see within 5 feet. On a successful 1d20 plus aid plus medicine check, you stabilize the target, or you can use triage as a downtime activity. So it allows you to have
Sure.
extra access to mechanics there.
Okay.
All right, Brent, did you pick a starter kit?
Yeah, I did the same thing. For nomads, javelin, hatchet, round shield, hide armor, proficiency axes and spears.
All right, perfect. All right, and just so anybody can see this from an equipment standpoint, the hatchets, like here's a hatchet, proficiencies are axes, whereas if you go to like javelin, proficiencies in spears and pole arms would be applicable. So as long as you meet the proficiency for one
You
of
can
the
use that
tags on it,
weapon. Okay.
you can use that weapon. That's why when you look at like kinsfolks, you can either be proficient in short blades or you can be a kinsguard. And then when you look at the requirements, obviously, I must not know what a kinsfolk look like because it requires either a strength three strength or dex, or a 2 strength or dex if you're a kinsguard. I don't know what that would look like. Honestly,
Yeah, I can't use that.
yeah, it has a pretty high requirement for.
No, I see that, but I could use it later
Yeah, you could.
because it is a short blade,
Mhm.
and I'm somehow proficient in that. So if I can get my dex to 3, I'm
Yeah.
golden.
Yep, or you could use something like a push dagger, because that would be your 2 dex ambidextrous, meaning you can use it
Yeah,
with either hand.
I'm still only 1, so yeah,
Oh, okay.
it's gonna be a while.
Oh, okay.
The hybrid weapons are all require some advanced.
Hmm.
Also, dwarves use guns. That's
They
what the blast hammer and the blunderbuss are.
Yeah, and they're actually higher priced things, so I don't think you could actually start with
Yeah, I can't get one. I was just curious what they were.
yeah, like a blast hammer. Main hand, 1d6 bludgeoning,
Hey,
or
Brent, you just need a
1d12.
4 strength or intelligence. So, oh no, you're a dwarf, so you only need a 3. So when you get your intelligence up to 3, you can use it.
Yeah, I believe the blast hammer is probably like an orc club in 40K where it has like a rocket on the end.
Oh, yeah.
Could be.
Like, do you remember, did anybody watch Battle Angel? A Battle
Yeah.
Angel Elite, I think it is. There was a guy who was like a dude in that, at least from the anime's perspective, he ran around with this hammer that had like this jet on the back of it that he used to fight monsters in the night.
Yeah, what this would more like be is, and I've seen these in real life, the hammers with like the firing pin in them, where like you hit and the shotgun shell goes off when you and it drives the spike into stuff. Like
Okay.
that is what I think it's supposed to be.
It could be.
Sure.
Some of these advanced weapons are kind of neat. Like, they're just a different way to think about some of this stuff. But
Yeah.
all right,
And what
well,
you
that
get out
seems
of it
pretty
is,
straightforward.
and you get some pretty interesting combinations. So even like on the low range stuff and the low price, I should say, you get like the ability to push things if you use a great club. Obviously, with the impression that as you swing this great club, people are kind of moving moving away from you, whether or not they want to be moved away, kind of thing.
Sure.
Same thing with
No,
like the
yeah, no, they do. They all have stuff in it. I mean, it shows a level of thought being put into the weapons rather than just.
Yeah, they're neat.
But what my favorite part is some of these more like the ritual sensor, 1d4 spirit on a 5-foot AoE. So you're basically, standing there and the smoke is billowing out, kind of thing. Safe to your allies, but not to your enemies. Okay, so now that we've got equipment, you have your armor. So just to kind of give you an idea as to armor, you said you had oiled
Hide.
leather?
Hide. I have hide. Yeah.
Okay. So hide requires a 1 strength. It has a defense of 10 and it's made out of an organic item. And as you can tell, they basically separate organic and metal. And you get a buffer dice against piercing and slashing things. So if you get a damage that if you get damage that qualifies as either piercing or slashing, you roll your buffer die and you actually mitigate the amount of damage you receive by that amount. If you have a roll of 1, it degrades your armor die until you get to a d4. Once it's past a d4, it's ruined.
I also get a round shield.
Okay, a round shield. Oops. Armor. I
saw it, but I thought I would make you look for it.
Oh, there it is. So a round shield is a +1 strength. It's offhand. Now it does have the note that it's strapped, meaning that it's basically you can't just like drop your shield if it's strapped. They actually have properties for any of these kind of things, and so when you're looking at like armor and all those kind of things, you'll actually be able to get all the different properties that it has. Now, I am kind of curious if that over time these haven't changed, or if with this next alpha, if there's not going to be more properties that are included, because I think that there could be some really interesting properties that you could use to make them more interesting. But okay, so I think that's your equipment and everything like that. Your final checks. So when combat begins, each character gains 1 willpower die. This is a limited resource that increases your chance to hit, helps you avoid negative effects, and amplifies certain class abilities. Willpower is never used outside of combat. So your willpower is a count of how many willpower die you have left to use this combat, and your willpower maximum is always equal to your party size. The die is determined by your class, and of course, there's a willpower section that goes into greater detail. Knowing your death marks, I don't know how often I'm going to be killing you guys or coming close to killing you guys.
Often.
We'll see. I've got some ideas already as how this is going to work. But you get 5 plus your character level plus your fortitude to determine a death mark. Getting death marks does really cause other problems with your character. I should say other opportunities for advancement, as you possibly could lose skills as well as gain hit points. Now for spells and everything like that, you do get the option to acquire your starting spells right this. And the spells are actually at the very end of the book. Magical spells and where to find them. And as you said, you had your sources. You had, which ones? Weave and Celestial?
No, Planar and Weave.
Planar and Weave. Okay. So Planar are spells drawn from an alternate plane of existence, and Weave are drawn by lay energy and spaces in between.
I'll choose those off camera, Mike, since
this is already a pretty
getting a little long. Yeah, I'll have those before Monday.
Sure. And just so you know, you can see the tags for each of them.
Yep.
On there. So.
I see those. Yep.
Yeah. Alrighty. Well, I mean, that's the character creation in a nutshell. I mean, in terms of character creation, if you were doing this kind of on your own and you didn't have somebody that like it was like your second character for this, I think it would go really quick. Honestly.
Yeah, I think it's pretty quick. The background is pretty easy. Like MacLeod style, pretty easy to understand. And then the attributes being way stripped down to just being like, put a point here, put a point there. Like that's really easy. Because it's that internal math that's usually like the problem. So I think that's
I do think that if you are looking for the more modern heroic fantasy, I can pretty well see that even though this is a high fantasy type setting that he's trying to build towards, I feel like if you are looking for that like big numbers thing, like you want to roll a lot of dice or you want to hit high numbers, this game might have some challenges for you in that regard, because it is going to be lower. Think of yourselves more like the hobbits as they go through and try to get to Mordor than what was it, the farmer, where he threw a rope across to the other mountain. And what was that dumb movie with Jason Statham? What was that called?
Dungeon Siege, a hero's
tale, where he was like, I think there was an actual scene where he like looped a mountain or something like that and then like swung over to the enemy.
I never want to remember parts of that movie again, so I'm offended that you brought it up.
But when you said Jason Statham, I thought you were talking about Crank. So,
or The Beekeeper. The Beekeeper is his newest movie.
I kind of want to watch it to see how ridiculous it is.
It's
Is that
entertaining.
bad?
It's
From the
entertaining.
trailer, it seems very ridiculous.
It's
Brent's
entertaining.
already seen it.
It's a good action.
It seems like a 13
movie.
out of 10 on the improbable scale.
It's a brainless action movie. It's entertaining to watch. I'd suggest it.
That's fair. I mean, it's on like what, MGM Plus or something like that. So I just don't have MGM Plus. So I'll have to take your word for it for now. Dang. So with that being said, I mean, Distal character creation. This is how it looks. I mean, it's, as you guys see, we might have rushed through this a little bit to kind of get you through the entire process. But it's fairly straightforward. I think that, in terms of alpha polish for character creation, this is pretty easy to follow, honestly.
It is.
I
think it's really.
I thought it was. Yeah.
I think it's really, really intuitive to make a character that's going to be interesting.
Yeah. Now, we can't say one way or the other how these characters balance out versus the gameplay, but we'll find that out next week.
Yeah, and I would add, as somebody who hates random rolling a character, I really like this. It gives me a lot of ideas for the character. As a matter of fact, this character would be, I think, different and potentially more interesting than my other characters. So this is kind of a neat way to kind of guide your character creation in this game.
I agree.
So that's it. Our longest video in a while. Hopefully you've all stayed till the very end. I should remember to ask you at the beginning to like, subscribe, and do all that jazz. But I'll ask at the end. So if you like the kind of content that we're creating here, or you'd like to see more of a specific type of content, please let us know in the comments. We dutifully try to respond to as many comments as we can, just so that, because we like talking to people in the RPG community. We enjoy it. So let us know what you're thinking. Brent or I or Jeff will get back to you in some capacity. And Jeff, how do they get a hold of us if outside the YouTube comments? Speaking of which,
they search for us at rolewise on Facebook, Threads, Twitter, or here on YouTube. Or they can email us, rollwiseguys@gmail.com.
And if you want to learn more about Distal and its creator and everything, you can look at our 2 other videos that we have somewhere down below somewhere. 2 other videos that we have about Distal. Really kind of an entertaining system, I think. And as always, roll well, roll wise, and be safe out there, everybody.
Thanks.
Thanks, everyone.